To start writing program with C# using the .NET framework, first of all you need to install the .NET framework on your Windows machine. If you are starting .NET applications with in year 2023, then you can start using the .NET Core, which is an open source framework which can be installed on any of the operating systems such as Linux, macOS or Windows. It is a lightweight framework executable provided by Microsoft, which you can use to get start writing your .NET applications. If you are not using a .NET Core application, then you may require to use a legacy .NET framework on your machine to run and support your C# programs. To install a .NET Core, you can simply use Google and search for .NET Core download. That will open the link from Microsoft to download the .NET Core on a various platform. So depending upon the platform you are trying to open this link, this will give you an option to download a .NET framework. As I'm using the Windows framework currently for this video, so hence it is given a .NET Core framework for Windows. With the current framework, it is available as of today is .NET 7.0, which you can download it with an x64 version. It may be possible by the time you are watching this video, there may be several upgrades provided by Microsoft on this .NET framework, so you may be using a latest than 7.0. Simply click here on this particular link. This will download the exe, which you can install it, and after the installation you would have the .NET SDK. Once you have a .NET SDK installed on your machine or on your choice of operating system, next thing you need is the integrated development environment, which is also known as an IDE. IDE is a software which can be used to write your programs using that particular IDE on your specific choice of language. For example, Microsoft provides Visual Studio as an IDE which you can use to write application with C#, VB or any other .NET specific programming language using that particular IDE. That is a IDE which is available as in paid version, and it is to start with it was available to use only for Windows, but like the .NET framework, it has evolved and now we have got the .NET Core. Similarly, the version of integrated development environment are also evolved, and now you have got an IDE for macOS, an IDE for other operating system which you can use to write your program with .NET using those IDE. Microsoft also moving towards the open source community, and that is the reason they have introduced a very famous IDE which is a Visual Studio Code, which you can install it on your machine, which is free of cost to write your .NET application. To download and install open source free of cost IDE provided from Microsoft, which is one of the most famous IDE, which is also known as Visual Studio Code or VSCode, you can simply search VSCode download on your Google, and that will give you a link from Microsoft, which is code.visualstudio.com, and that you can use to download the IDE on your machine. As I'm using the Windows platform right now for this demonstration, I can simply click here on the Windows download option, and that will give me an option to download a link, or it will be downloaded directly on my machine. Once this exe is downloaded, you can click on the installation option, and that will install the VS Code on your machine. This is, like I mentioned, this is an open source IDE. It has got number of flexible options to install the extension on top of this IDE. So which means that this is not only supported for the .NET languages, but it can be supportive for any other open source language such as Python, C++, Java, and many more. You can do almost all the type of programming with this Visual Studio Code, and that is the reason it is one of the most famous IDE tool we have available in the market right now. So I've downloaded this option. I can simply go now to the download section. I can simply go to the download section, which is this one, right click, run as an administrator to run this Visual Studio Code setup. After it downloads, you can simply open the Visual Studio Code like this. As I've opened this terminal, this is a menu option which you can use to open existing project or create new project from the file option. So you can click here on open folder. That will give option to open an existing folder as a project or a solution in this Visual Studio Code. I have already opened a folder named as in C# on my C drive. So I've opened this particular folder. Now I can write all my application code or any programming code I want to write. I can write it inside this. Next, you have the edit option, which you can use undo, redo, cut, copy and paste. So it's a simple navigation options or the option for you to know. Then you have the option for the selection within the editor, like if you want to select full line, if you want to undo any selections or move up and down, change your cursor and things like that, nothing too specific. Then you have option as in view option, which you want to go ahead and choose any of the view options, such as if I want to open the command line palette, I can use this. If you want to use a view, or if you want to change the appearance, increase and decrease the zooming panel, then you can use this option. Next, you may want to use a different extensions. You can click here on the extension that will open this extension bar. Let's say if I click here, that will open this extension bar. Now what the extension menu item gives us, it gives the ability to search open source extension, which you can basically search and download on your machine. For example, you can see that I have installed the .NET tool for extensions. Then I've also installed some of the Azure related extension which I'm using, plus the Terraform, C#, edit CSV if I want to view CSV into a tabular format, or edit a CSV as in tabular format. And there are many open source extensions available which you can install it here, right here in this section. Once it is there, and if you want to run any of your program line command on a terminal, then this is the terminal option which you can install, open it right here from this section, or you can also right click here on this folder panel, and that will give you an option to open integrated terminal, which you can use to open the terminal. That will be opened here in this section. Once the terminal is opened on a folder location, as you can see, this is my folder location or the project location. I can write any of the commands which I want to write or run against the program or the folder I'm in right now. So that's a bit of idea about the Visual Studio Code, how to launch and install the Visual Studio Code, how to install and launch the Visual Studio Code and different options to use it. These are some of the extensions I have already installed from the extension options. Some of the extension, when you install, you get a menu items like this, which you can directly click here and use it. Now with the help of .NET SDK as well as this Visual Studio Code IDE, I can simply create a .NET application, which I'll be doing it in the next section.